Welcome to another Chalk or Not segment. This week we're talking about UFC Vegas 109, and pretty much this entire card is going to be covered on this Chalk or Not segment. Besides the Cody Brundage and Eric McConnell fight that just got announced, I saw the odds are hovering around that minus 170 range for McConnell right now. It might even end up flipping by the time I'm done recording this. But as of right now, I'm going to keep it out of this Chalk or Not segment and go over the rest of the card, which is chalked to hell. Again, this is just to help you guys try to manage parlays, straight shots you might want to take, maybe some landmines that I can help you avoid. We'll try to put some things into perspective here and see if we can cash some tickets with this advice. So let's get right into it. First fight up, Gabriela Fernandes coming in at minus 400 going up against Yulia Stoliarenko. Fernandes will have a tremendous striking advantage here. Now it's all about keeping this fight standing because Stoliarenko has 10 of her 11 victories by armbar, and that's where she's going to be looking to take this fight. I think the physicality of Fernandes will allow her to keep this fight upright and pick apart Stoliarenko, eventually finding that finish. But at minus 400, it's a little tough to fully get behind her considering some of the issues we've seen off of her back. So I like Fernandes, but I do not think she is chalk worthy. Next up, we got Schmedic coming in at minus 450 going up against Gilbert Urbina. I've long been against Medic and looked to fade him in numerous spots, including last time around against Punahele Soriano. But I think this is a very winnable fight for him against Urbina. I think he's the more dangerous striker, packs a little bit more power, and I think he can dictate the pace here and really keep Urbina away from utilizing his long-distance weapons. With that said, who's to say Urbina can't land a counter of his own considering the height and reach advantage he'll have? Even though it's not too much, he should be able to land some big shots in return and maybe be able to put out Medic, who just got TKO'd and KO'd back in January. So this is a long layoff for Urbina, so that's kind of working against him here. But I just can't stomach trusting Schmedic at a heavy chalk line like minus 450. Thus, I'm going to put him into the not chalk-worthy category. Next up, we got Jocelyn Edwards coming in at minus 310 going up against Priscilla Cachoeira. I really think this is a great fight for Edwards to utilize her technical striking advantage, but more importantly, her grappling advantage, which we've seen her really start to lean on in recent fights, especially with her joining forces with Valentina Shevchenko. I think it's kind of rubbed off on her to see that it's a little bit easier to have some dominant positions if she can just drag this fight to the ground and utilize her aggressive BJJ game. I'm expecting her to do just that against Cachoeira, and I think that'll actually produce a finish, and I think Edwards will look 75% indicated here, 80% indicated. I think she really squashes Cachoeira here, utilizing a grapple-heavy approach. So I'm going to put Edwards in the chalk-worthy category. Next up, we got Elijah Smith coming in at minus 700 going up against Toshiomi Kazama. Minus 700 is usually the limit of what I would even entertain in terms of parlaying. And I think that this is a matchup where you could give Smith that credence to be worthy of that. He's the better striker, far slicker, far faster, has more power on his shots, and we know that his defensive grappling is good enough. Even though Kazama is a bit of a wizard on the ground, I think he's going to struggle to get Smith there, and I think Smith will continuously pick him apart on the feet, and that will lead to him finding that knockout. So I'm going to go put Smith in the chalk-worthy category. All right, next up, we got Julius Walker coming in at minus 600 going up against Rafael Cerqueira. Walker, very athletic, very explosive, very powerful, and I think that's going to allow him to squash Cerqueira, who's had an 0-2 run thus far in the UFC. I think we'll see Walker do a good job in terms of managing the distance, but really just crowding the space of Cerqueira, keeping him pushed up against the cage or even moving backwards towards the cage. And I think from there, he'll be able to land some big shots, and I think he'll be able to get Cerqueira out of there. So, Walker's kind of inexperienced, but Cerqueira's strength of schedule on the regional scene does not really help his case in the UFC, as we've seen through his first two fights. And I think that Walker will do a great job in terms of just putting his fist on his chin and eventually finding that quick finish. So I do not mind Julius Walker here at minus 600. Thus, I'll put him into the chalk-worthy category. Next up, we got Christian Leroy Duncan coming in at minus 550 going up against Eric Anders. Both guys are very physical. Both guys are very strong, but there is an 8-year youth advantage for Duncan, not to mention a speed and power advantage. And we've been seeing Anders' chin start to crack ever so slightly, most notably getting dropped by Chris Weidman in his last fight. I can only imagine what Chris Duncan will be able to do if he can get off on that type of striking success. If he can traverse the cage well and keep Anders at distance, or even reverse positions up against the cage should Anders look to utilize a clinch-heavy approach, I think we'll see Duncan land those big shots, and I think he'll eventually put Anders away. And I think he can make it look minus 550 as well. So I'm just on the ever so slight side of considering Christian Leroy Duncan as chalk-worthy. All right, next up, we got Gene Matsumoto coming in at minus 300, going up against Miles Johns. I think this is a great fight for Matsumoto to bounce back from his first professional loss that he suffered at the hands of Rob Font last time around by split decision. And I think we'll see him dictate the pace of this fight with his Muay Thai advantage, utilizing combinations and consistent leg kicks to keep Johns on the defensive. Johns might be able to crack back with a few big shots of his own, but Matsumoto has great durability, and he has great counter-striking ability too, which I think is where he'll make Johns really pay. And that's where we'll see Johns slowly get demoralized and end up allowing Matsumoto to lead the dance there. So I'm going to put Matsumoto in the chalk-worthy category. Next up, we got Christian C-Rod Rodriguez going up against Andre Fili, minus 235 on Rodriguez. And now it seems like he's gone from being this guy that was underappreciated to almost being overappreciated now. And I'm happy to say that, especially as a guy that was, appreciating him perfectly when he was being underappreciated. And we were able to cash a couple solid underdog tickets, like against Raul Rosas Jr., even against Isaac Delgarian. Say what you want about that decision. We're still able to cash that ticket there. But here against Fili, the issue that I have with Rodriguez is that he's, fighting at 145 pounds. He's always going to be at a height and reach disadvantage. He's always going to have to make up that no man's land in terms of crashing the pocket and getting to his strikes and his punches. Or just his offense, period. And Fili is just that unorthodox striker where he can make things a little bit trickier for Fili whenever he tries to enter the pocket there. I think Rodriguez wins still, but I think this line is just a little bit off. And I think we're starting to see the sharps start to come in now and pluck that Fili line. And I think we're going to start to see Rodriguez drop to that, minus 200, maybe minus 180, maybe even minus 170 range if there's enough love out there. And I think that's the point where you'll have to start considering Rodriguez as a bet, because I think he is the better technical fighter here. I think he's a little bit more reliable. I think he is a guy that can cause a lot of issues to Fili, who makes a lot of defensive mistakes. So as of right now, at minus 235, I'm going to put Christian Rodriguez not in the not chalk-worthy category. If he drops to that minus 185 range, minus 180, then I'll probably switch my opinion there. But then again, it wouldn't be considered chalk at that point, as I kind of cut the line off at minus 185. But at chalk, I would not consider Rodriguez to be chalk-worthy here. All right, next up, we got Yasmin Lucindo coming in at minus 205, going up against Angela Overkill Hill. Lucindo looking to bounce back after the loss against Amanda Lemos. And that showed, if she can't get the takedowns, if she can't control for long periods of time, she kind of struggles in the striking realm. And I think that's where Hill can really take advantage of her. We've seen improvements in the defensive grappling realm from Hill. Even though she's 40 years old, she's definitely going out there and showing some improvements. And then we already know about her patented Muay Thai striking game. She does a great job in terms of just putting combinations together, putting high output volume there. Not to mention, she's starting to mix in takedowns of her own to really start separating herself from her opponents whenever the judges are scoring these rounds. So in this fight against Lucindo, if Hill shows the urgency she's been showing recently in terms of working back to her feet as quickly as possible, she can definitely nullify the control of Lucindo by landing more damage and landing more strikes in the stand-up realm. So I'm actually picking Hill to win this fight. So that just automatically puts Yasmin Lucindo in the not chalk-worthy category. All right, next up, I believe this is the co-main event. We got Steve Erceg coming in at minus 600, going up against Ode Osbourne. Now, Osbourne's another guy that I've had some history with in terms of betting against and betting on. Most recently, betting against as a lock of the night play with Luis Gurul, and I ended up, eating my words there as Osbourne was able to knock him out in the second round. Normally, guys are able to take Osbourne to the ground, grind him out, slow him down, and really take over in deep water. But when he can really establish his range and his speed with his striking, he still has the power to put guys out, which is crazy at 125 pounds. Now, Erceg is looking to bounce back from 3 straight losses, and this is a winnable fight for him. Technically speaking, I think he's superior all around. I think he would be safest to try to take this fight to the ground and utilize his BJJ black belt, but he's not often known to utilize it as aggressively as I would hope him to against a dangerous striker like Osbourne. I think he wins, but at minus 600 and being stung by Osbourne last time around, I feel like I might have some PTSD there. Thus, I'm going to put Erceg in the not chalk-worthy category. I think there are some sexy props on the Osbourne side of things in terms of KO round 1, KO round 2, and we saw Erceg, flatlined by Kai Car-France, or at least knocked out by Kai Car-France. Osbourne has the capabilities of doing that too. He's long, lanky, and fast, and has that pop on his shot. So I'd be careful parlaying Steve Erceg in this fight. All right, that takes us to the main event with Anthony Fluffy Hernandez coming in at minus 330, going up against Roman Dolidze. I think this is a great matchup for Hernandez to earn his 7th straight victory, and I think or 8th straight, I believe it is. But regardless, continue this winning streak. I think he's going to snap Dolidze's 3-fight winning streak. Hernandez, better grappler, better output, better cardio, better gas tank, fully. I just expect him to throw everything at Dolidze here in terms of his smothering grappling approach. And then from there, I think it's going to cause Dolidze a ton of trouble in terms of getting off on any success of his own. Dolidze could land a big shot early here. The flack on Hernandez in the past has been his durability. That's been kind of the crux behind his 2 UFC losses thus far. But it looks great since then. He's done a great job in terms of sharpening up the defense and the durability, and I'd be surprised if Dolidze is the one that gets him out of there. So look for Hernandez to really put it on him. I think he finishes him in the 4th or 5th round, and I think he makes it look minus 400 if I'm being honest. So I'm going to put Hernandez in the chalk-worthy category. There you guys go. Chalk or not for UFC Vegas 109. We'll be back tomorrow where I'll drop the solo breakdown of the Cody Brundage and Eric McConaughey fight now that we finally have odds. And then we'll drop the quick picks version of the UFC Vegas 109 breakdown as well. So I'll see you guys then. Peace.